What's up? UFC Vegas 48. These ones are starting to get a little bit confusing, but this is the official recap. And yeah, we had fun with this one. 12-fight card. A couple bad bounces. I think one bad read, but for the most part, the core stayed intact. Good on the Bellator front as well, but we are here to talk about UFC. And people were talking all week like, bullshit card, man, no name value. Like, I don't care. I don't really care about name value. You know, these fights are going to be exciting because they generally are exciting. And an exciting fight to me. Money, I got money on it. I got a favorable lean. Like, I don't need the big name value guy per se. So these cards have been floating under the radar. And last week we did good. This week we did even better. So hopefully we can keep those improvements going. And starting off with this one, we got Mario Batista, Jay Perrin. Jay Perrin coming in short notice from Massachusetts. He's a submission guy. How's he going to get a submission game going against Mario Batista, who's a former collegiate wrestler? Better grappling. Nah, I wouldn't say necessarily like better grappling, just better wrestling, better in the clinch, stronger guy physically. You're not going to peel him to the ground. And so you're going to have a long night. You're going to have to force a stand with him and fight him in the clinch. And Batista just had it all his way. Why not put Batista on the top line, you know? And really, he's a 35-pound fighter, not a heavyweight like Parker Porter, who ended up being on the top ticket. You know, less chance of him getting caught with some flash thing. Like, why is that? Like, I don't know. I think coming off that last fight, a fight that he was in control of, did he get tired? Did he get clipped? Who knows? But it left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. So we put him as a second ticket guy. He comes in as like a minus 350. Line opened up at minus 250, swelled up in his favor. Can't say I disagree. He had him outgunned everywhere. That's exactly what happened. Jay Perrin couldn't take him down. He's forced to fight him in the clinch. And you saw Batista do a pretty good job of just use his takedown defense to keep the fight upright and then just chop away at him. Short elbows in the clinch. Outstrike him. Outwork him. Better volume. Better work rate. And it's pretty clear cut, right? 30-27 across the board. Most nights end up getting greasy. This is the kind of one that he was on the second ticket, so we had a lot of faith in him. But you want those guys in the top ticket because you don't break a sweat in the slightest bit. Batista barely broke a sweat himself. Perrin didn't show anything other than dude is tough. Got cracked with a couple nasty elbows, got hit with a couple good shots, stayed with it the whole time. And for Batista, could he have done more? Could he have done this and that? He needed a win. This is a good win, reestablishes you. And in 135-pound division, best division in the sport, you don't want to look too good and get tossed into one of the wolves. So hopefully he gets another soft matchup or two, and then he can start fighting some contenders at bantamweight. Jonathan Pierce versus Christian Rodriguez. Okay, so we do go with Jonathan Pierce as a top ticket guy. I just think he's way too big. He's way too strong. We keep bringing up the Joe Lozon loss. You know, he doesn't move his head. He got clipped. He got knocked out by a veteran, aging Joe Lozon. He's at 155. This is at 145. This dude is monstrous. And you see that in his last two victories coming into this one. He just melts guys to the ground. Once he gets you to the ground, just terrific pace, breaks you physically, breaks you mentally, has his way with you. He should do the exact same thing to Christian Rodriguez, who's A, only 24 years old. B, has never faced a stout wrestler of this nature. C, coming out of Rufus Sport, is not really known exactly for the best wrestling. And he's a former bantamweight. Fought in the Contender Series, missed weight, came in at 138, wins, no contract because he missed weight. And now he's in the UFC at 145 pounds. I get everything lined up perfect. But holy shit. You know, this week people say, Cody, you did a great job. You're the GOAT, blah, blah, blah. We made some money and everybody's happy. And I'm extremely happy. But these are the kind of fights that could have gone the other way. JSP could have got knocked the fuck out. JSP could have got caught in that guillotine choke. There's a lot of things that could have gone wrong in this fight. And he was on our top ticket. So Batista, clear cut, walk in the park. That's what you want, top ticket. JSP got the win, but holy shit, man. So first round, they started out, and honestly, this Rodriguez kid striking, it's not that it looks bad early. It looks quirky. Like, he's got a way of shooting his right hand over the top, and I don't think it looks great. And I think for the most part, Pierce is having a little bit of success backing him up and just kind of throwing some stuff down the pipe, keeping him on his heels, shoots the first takedown. Rodriguez stuffs the second takedown. Does get taken down, pops right back up. At this point, I'm like, man, this guy can grapple. Like, he's doing everything right. He's doing everything defensively sound. He's just one step behind JSP, who's just a much larger guy and just overpowering him. You know, there was a couple times, this is a bantamweight fight, he hits a switch or he hits a sweep, he ends up on top 100%. And he this close. Pierce is so physically strong, he can just put like one arm over the guy and peel him back down. So first round is going well, and then Pierce sticks his head in that guillotine choke. Kid pulls guard on it. I'm not gonna lie to you, this thing looks tight. Like, Pierce looks like it's right under the neck. He looks into some serious discomfort. He's in full guard, so he can't pass over to the side. And it's just like, dude, please do not tap. Please do not tap. Because financially, we've got a lot on this. But so does he, right? So he does not tap. Thank God. Pops his head out. That was a veteran crafty move. And I'm feeling good at this point because I'm thinking the kid probably just burnt out his arm. Yeah, it's his UFC debut. Huge bright spotlights for him. Taking on a crafty veteran who's on top of him and just putting a mauling on and physically strong. Like, once you burn out your arm, okay, now it's going to go all Pierce's way. But not so, man. He made him work for the entirety of the first round. The second round was much of the same. Pierce took him down. Pierce would not – it looked like he was dominating on the ground. Like, he kept just, like, getting great positions and tossing him around, but he landed no ground and pound. He had no real submission attempts for the most part. He's just manhandling the kid. And meanwhile, Rodriguez doing everything right. So I'm feeling pretty confident it's a 2-0 going into the third. But you could see in the second round, when the second round starts, Pierce's striking's not good. He does not move his head. It's on the straight line. And beyond that, everything he throws, I'm not going to call it telegraphed, but it's not, he's not setting anything up. It's just a blind kick. He'll throw a naked kick straight up. He won't throw, a jab right kick. He won't mix in the kick. He won't move off the center line trying to counter. He'll just walk up to you and try to kick you. Rodriguez counters him. He comes in here and he just tries to throw one singular strike at a time. Rodriguez is clipping him. He shot that takedown in the second and he got it. I'm happy, but you could tell he was getting tired. And there's another thing about the fight game is that I don't know if he was sick or not. I don't know if there's something was going on with him. But when you tape study this guy, cardio for days, he just keeps going. And now we're in a second round where he's a little bit rocked, but he's getting tired. Gets to the third round, and I honestly have a gut feeling that something could go very wrong. But what do? I can't pull the shoot at this point. It's the second fight of the night, and he's our top ticket guy. So it's like you just have to have faith that he's going to survive the third round. And my God, he almost did exactly that. But here's the stupid thing about it, right? You win the first round, you just take him down, right? The second round, you get clipped a few times until you take him down. The third round, why are you even trying to stand with him? This kid's only 24. He's got a great gas tank. He's fired up. He's ready to go. He got grounded the last two, and he needs to knock you out. He's coming out hot. He's going to come out hot. Shoot the takedown right away. If you can't get the takedown, clinch with him. Push him up against the cage. Do not stand in the open field. And that's what he did. He stood in the open field. He ate a couple nasty shots. And then Rodriguez, and this comes due to being young and only having 7 pro fights, he should have tagged him up, and just sat right back. But instead, he'd tag him up, and rush in. And as soon as he'd rush in, it was just a reactionary move by Pierce to shoot the takedown, and he got it. And then to be honest with you, he got nailed with a nasty right hand, and he got blasted with a nasty elbow. He was definitely rocked. He gets a reactionary takedown. And I'm almost inclined to still give him that round because once he got the takedown, there was 3 minutes left, 2.5 minutes left, and he dominated him. But he dominated him with no ground and pound, and he fished for an arm triangle choke and a couple rear naked chokes, but nothing really significant on the submission side of things. So I seen 2 judges gave Rodriguez the third round. Whatever, I get it. He hurt him, he rocked him, he did the real damage, but man, when Pierce got the positions he wanted, he was rolling in those positions. So it wasn't a walk in the park. We're happy we got the win, but those are the slight bounces that could go the either way and then make you look like a fool at the end of the night. So always be humble when you win because you're going to have bad bounces down the road, just like this, and you're going to look like an idiot. And you try not to suck up on those ones as well. Chad Anhelager versus Jesse Strader. My boy, Bad Chad. I did move him to the third line. Some people were telling me not to sleep on Strader. I really want to sleep on Strader. But yeah, I get it. It's his UFC debut. He's 35 years old. He's largely competed on the Canadian regional scene. Like, okay, there's unknowns there. He's not the guy you're going to put on the top ticket, that's for sure. Second ticket, well, we found better options in the second ticket. But Chad is a guy that we've got faith in. And because he's got a slightly better odds than some of the other favorites that we're playing, that's what kind of gives you this plus 500 that we got on that third ticket. Strader, meanwhile, what do you like about him, right? Aaron Carter's boxing coach, which, as we saw in the fight with Lamar Odom, did not go too well for him. He's got a very low record, right? He's 5-2 at the time. He's mostly fought on the Kombache regional scene, and he just got lackluster cardio. So feeling good about it going in. But yeah, first round almost expected. Strader's a one-round guy, and he does throw a pretty good pace, works the body, does all that stuff. You see in all of his fights, he does that. So losing that first round, which I think Chad did, just behind on volume, not the end of the world. Chad did snatch up a guillotine, though, and Strader popped his head right out. And then Strader scored 3 takedowns. So that was all a little bit worrisome to me. Not the hot start. The fact that I don't think you just take Chad down 3 times. Like, this guy's more of a striker. Like, where'd that come from? The outstriking, I get. And then I really thought a great path to victory would snatching up that guillotine. When he just shucked it off like nothing, I was like, oh, maybe it's not so good. Then I'm noticing Jesse Strader is twice the size of Chad Anhelager. Now, Ann Ledger used to fight at 125 pounds back in the day, but Strader is huge, man. He's got a giant back on him. Everything he's throwing is huge technique, big kicks, big power kicks, roasting the ribs with the 2-3 body shot combination. Like, he's going hard. He's not tiring at the rate that I need him to tire. So we lose the first round, but I'm not feeling great about it going into the second. Not as good as I wish I was. Second round, Chad comes forward. His corner must have given him some excellent advice. He needed better output, and he was fighting at best when he was putting Strader on his back foot. Strader likes to come forward, throw those banger techniques, but he's not a great counterpuncher. He doesn't fight particularly well moving backwards. So Chad just was the aggressor. I thought he landed the better shots. He stung him a couple times. Not that Jesse Strader was out of it at any point, but you could see that he was now starting to fatigue a little bit. He was starting to wear a little bit. Chad was starting to take over the momentum. This is a Chad round. This is a 1-1 going into the third. Momentum's in our side. We're feeling pretty good about. Oh, you can't deny the fact that also he drops Strader early in that second round, right? Strader walks into a counter right hand, floors him. He gets on top. Again, I thought Ann Ledger would have better grappling, but Strader's rocked on the ground and just gets right back up and did a good job of recovering and fighting his way back into it. But still an Ann Ledger round, especially with that early knockdown. So it's 1-1 going into the third. As we'll see in the judges' scorecards later on, which they didn't need, one of the judges had Strader winning the second round. So it would have been a split had it made it to the scorecards and Ann Ledger won the third. But we really need this third round. Third round starts. I'm not really seeing it out of Ann Ledger. He doesn't look super tired, but he's being very patient. And Strader is desperate, and it's like it's given him a second gear. Like his cardio is all of a sudden reinvented. He was looking sluggish in the second, but for the third, he knows it's 1-1. He knows he needs a UFC win very badly. And he knows this is now a winnable spot for him. So he gets over aggressive. But he's throwing, and I'm honestly favoring him in the early minute or two of that first round, but it's close. And Ledger's still in it, and then Strader gets overzealous. That's what he did in the second round. He just steps in with the combination and gets countered. Boom, basically same shot, floors him, and only this time he's all the way out. And Ledger throws in some ground and pound for good measure. They stop the fight. Thank God, because I did not want to see these scorecards. Had he survived and Ann Ledger won the round, it would have been a split decision. Well, unless it was a 10-8, who knows? But one guy had Strader winning straight up, and we can all agree that Strader won the first round. So, yeah, again, it wasn't a walk in the park. Probably as greasy as the Jonathan Pierce fight. Pierce almost got knocked out. At least Chad was just, needed to just do a little bit more. So, I don't know. At least we got the win there, but not the greatest of situations. When I'm fading Jesse Strader, I expect my walk in the park, right? When I'm fading Jay Perrin, I expect it. When I'm fading Christian Rodriguez, I didn't know enough about Christian Rodriguez, apparently. Kid impressed me, right? So there was the gray area. But when you know you got a bad fighter, you expect them to perform bad. Strader actually performed the best he has ever performed. It just still wasn't enough to beat even a guy like Chad Ann Ledger. So moving on, good stuff from Chad. He needed a UFC win, 35 years old. Oh, and I want to bring this up. His post-fight interview, right? He's very disappointed in himself, and he says, you know what? The last 2 weeks I was sick, I got a knee injury, working through some things. Normally I like to do sprints 2 weeks out, not able to do sprints, not sure if my cardio was going to hold up for the fight. That's all stuff that cappers, myself, yourself, anybody else that you follow included, you don't know that stuff. You might have an inside hook every now and again, but it doesn't necessarily help you. What if I told you, dude, I know Chad personally, dude's been sick for 2 weeks, right? Dude has a bum knee and he hasn't been to do any road work, and all he does is road work. Would sound like a hot tip. Chad still won the fight, so it's not a hot tip. What I'm saying is that you analyze the fight, you break it down. Chad's got great cardio. Chad's got that. Chad's got any opponent, not necessarily him. I mentioned it in the first fight with, the second fight. Which fight was it? I thought the guy might have been sick. I guess it doesn't matter. You never know what the guy's got coming in, right? If he's not feeling off, if he's feeling to the best of his abilities, if he's going, his dog just died, if his girlfriend just left him, like he just goes out there and has one bad night. So that's why you can do the tape study and still be on the wrong side of a bet, because you don't know what they're going through. We're on the right side of it, but Chad openly admits afterwards, hey man, I was in a really bad spot here. So in a sense, especially the way Jesse Strader fought him, maybe we got lucky here. Who knows? Glory to Powell versus Deanna Balbita. I'm feeling good at this point, right? We're 3-0. We're doing pretty well. But this is a 50-50 fight. You don't really got a ton of confidence either way. We did go officially with Diana Balbita. And fight starts. Balbita seems to have a little bit better volume, but DePaula's a lot like, she seems more athletic. Everything she's throwing is tight and technical. She's got a nice jab coming straight up the middle. Balbita, meanwhile, is kind of just like dipping her head and swinging these windmill overhand rights over the top, but she's connecting. She's hitting. She's tagging her up. I believe she's at least landing the more meaningful shots, and she's digging to the body excellent. So by the punch stats, it's like, oh, DePaulo landed more headshots, but the headshots that Balbita landed, I thought were more significant, and the body work by Balbita has to be considered in. So a very close round, but I gave it for Diana Balbita. Second round, third round, much of the same, right? This was 3-round kickboxing match. I thought throughout, DePaulo in the second round, to me, started to fatigue a little bit. But again, she would land the better shot. She was landing the jab. She was keeping her honest. Balbita, meanwhile, was a little more wild, but I just felt that she did enough work. On a personal level, I scored the fight for Diana Balbita 29-28. But again, very close, and I'm not one to scream robbery unless it's like back up the Brinks truck. This is straight up highway robbery, and this just wasn't. It was a very close competitive fight. I scored it for Balbita. Thought she did enough. But DePaulo, she picks up her first UFC victory. She needed it. She fought like she needed it. She did an okay job. And with Balbita, she's still only 25 years old. I'm sure the UFC keeps her around. She needs some of these lower level matchups still to build up. But, it was just a tough night for her. You can't complain either way. It was a very close fight. It is our first loss officially on the card, but it's women's MMA, so I would say expect the unexpected. Maybe just pass on it altogether is usually the move. Chas Skelly versus Mark Stragel. Chas Skelly's now 36. He's coming off a 3+ year long layoff. Who knows what to expect, man? Mark Stragel, meanwhile, is just like a career underachiever, was awesome on the South Asian regional scene. This guy was an absolute standout, great jiu-jitsu, good striking, a physically well put together guy. And then at the higher level, you just don't necessarily see it. Doesn't fight very often. He's had long layoffs of his own. You saw in his UFC debut, fought an excellent opponent, but just an absolute non-factor, gets knocked out. And then in this fight with Chas Skelly, it's like, even though you have a 4-fight deal, with his inactivity and losing his last fight by knockout, like his back's up against the wall, very needs a victory here. Just wasn't meant to be. He did okay in the first round. I thought Skelly was pitting him up against the cage pretty good, but not necessarily getting the takedown. Stragel landed a couple good strikes. It was a competitive first round, but not like anybody did anything to really wow you. And for Skelly, he needed that first round to kind of get his feet back wet in the sport. But at the same time, he's not really known for having super deep cardio. So one has to wonder now, the 3+ year layoff and coming back at 36, like maybe his cardio is not what it used to be, and it wasn't great to begin with. But yeah, no, he pulled it into second gear in that second round, beat up Mark around the ring, smokes him with the knee, puts him down, drops him, gets the knockout. Solid performance. But then he announces afterwards he's not sure if he wants to fight anymore. So this is a guy that had basically retired from the sport due to injuries, comes back, has a slew of fights pull out, finally gets one, goes out there, has a great moment, gets a knockout. Yeah, this is a good moment to walk out on. Where would he factor in the division if he didn't walk away? Well, yeah, as a gatekeeper, I think he could show a couple young kids a few things here and there, but he's not going to make a run. He's not going to crack the top 15, and so you are going to get lumps and bruises if you choose to stay in the sport, and maybe he just doesn't think it's worth it anymore. But this is a great high note if he chooses to walk away. And for Mark Stragel, I mean, I'm not saying he should walk away either. Like, he could still do whatever he pleases. He's still an able-bodied human being, but at the highest level, just doesn't look like it's going to work out for him. Stephanie Edgar versus Jess Rose Clark. Women's MMA. Did I mention women's MMA and how sometimes you should just pass? Well, that was the move here because Rose Clark, I mean, we knew she was going to be physically strong, but Edgar is super big and physically strong too. Like, she fought in Ryzen against King Miura at like 145 pounds. She fought against Gabby Garcia at the ADCCs. Like, she can obviously hold her own in a strength versus strength battle. And so what else do they got? Well, neither of them are good strikers. So striking is right off the table. And then the ground game. Well, like, Rose Clark's good at getting opponents to the ground, but beyond that, not huge ground and pound and not slick grappling. Whereas Edgar, I wouldn't say slick grappling, but again, ADCCs against Gabby Garcia, BJJ black belt, judo black belt, has grappled at the highest level. Goddamn, these judo people got goddamn arm bars. You see it all the time. That's their move. They get the goddamn arm bar. And so what do you want to know? Rose Clark pins her up against the cage, right? It's kind of how you think the fight's going to go through the first 2.5 minutes, nearly 3 minutes. She's just kind of roughing her up there. Maybe you're inclined to think that she's winning it, but there you go. The judo black belt throws in a judo toss, kind of like a head and arm throw, but it works in women's MMA. It doesn't necessarily work in men's MMA, but for whatever reason, it's an effective technique. As soon as she tossed her, she got that head and arm choke. She used it to gain top position. From top position, she fishes for the armbar. She's got a nasty armbar, and she makes it work for her. So I'm going to chalk this one up to a bad read. This is a bad read from me. Batista got the win for us. Pierce got the win for us. Chad got the win for us. Balbita was in a nip-tuck fight that was going to go either way, and the money line suggested that anyhow. Neither of those are bad reads. Maybe they didn't go as good as we wanted them to, but we're on the right path. This is a bad path. Like, Jess Rose Clark was thoroughly outclassed here. The fight was going to have to be 15 minutes up against the cage. That probably wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to spend any time in the open field. It was going to hit the ground at some point. And when it hit the ground, Stephanie Edgar was just a lot better at jiu-jitsu. So for Rose Clark, I think she's just regulated to gatekeeper status. You know, she can fight young prospects. She can have a couple fun, entertaining fights here and there, but she doesn't do herself any favors with her style, which is just outmuscle opponents in the clinch. I think she's super hot. I think she's got a great personality. I want them to keep her on the roster. I just don't know what the upside is with her. And for Stephanie Edgar, this is a solid victory because Rose Clark is a name opponent. So Edgar's a little bit older herself and wants to make some noise in the division, coming off her first UFC victory to now pick up an armbar, picks up a $50,000 bonus of the night as well. Like, this is all good stuff, and it is kind of a higher profile victory for her. So good to see. With her grappling, she'll be a threat to some girls in the division, but with absolutely zero striking. If she fights anybody that can just stuff the takedown and back away, she's going to be in trouble again. Hoops fans, the latest offer from DraftKings Sportsbook is too good to pass up, and I'm talking between the legs 360 windmill good. Customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. It's that simple. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also bet on the NBA with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DOP. Bet just $1 on any pro basketball game and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code DOP at DraftKings Sportsbook. David Onoma versus Gabriel Benitez. We're on David Onoma. David Onoma is technically on the ticket with Rose Clark, so it just got burned up. But we like this guy. We also like the knockout prop. Not that we played a whole lot of props this week. Just don't really care for props as much. I'm a parlay guy. But Onama's a guy that we got faith in. He just looked so good in his debut against Mason Jones, a kid that I got the utmost respect for. And he's at a great camp in Kansas City with James Krause. So guys should be able to put it on. With Benitez, meanwhile, Mexican fighters have that toughness. They're so goddamn tough. That's part of their game, their ability to sustain damage and then just give it right back. Benitez at some point lost that Mexican chin. He lost that ability to take the punch, and that just kind of makes him a liability. Paul Shag actually brought up a great point with the Billy Q fight. You know, getting dropped by Billy Q is problematic only because Billy Q's not a power puncher. So somebody with lighter hands than him is going to touch you up. It could be a problem. In the case of David Onoma, like, he is still young, he is still green, but he does pack some heat. Fight starts out, and Onoma doesn't look as good as I thought he would. I thought he'd be a little more dynamic with his footwork. I thought he'd be a little more snappy, but guy's got a long-ass reach on him, and he uses every bit of it. That jab was just on point. He does also an excellent job of switching between orthodox and southpaw, so you never really know what hand's going to be the jab hand, and he extends it well. Almost fights better out of southpaw because he's got a good straight left down the pipe, but he was still looking green in his own way. And Benitez, he's getting his kick game going because we know the long story, and Javier Mendez, best kicks in MMA, gets his kick game going for sure, but he kind of does look half hesitant. Onama's not finding the shot. They're mostly just jabs. And it's competitive, but it's almost just like at some point Onama's going to unleash, and he did. And the combination almost looks sloppy in the sense that it's super wide. Like someone that's sharp and, you know, linear or is going to counter you on that. But boy, those goddamn punches came in with ferocity, and they tagged him up. He was out before he hit the ground. Huge KO. Huge, another $50,000 KO of the night bonus, which you can't disagree with. And for a 27-year-old fighter now winning his first fight in the UFC, he's 1-1 in the division now. This is huge, man. This is life-changing, gigantic. So great stuff from Onoma. Again, I don't know that I was overly impressed. The KO is sick. The rest of it was just methodical, but not great. And then for Benitez, I think he came in exactly how we thought he'd come in, like serviceable enough until he got tagged. And when he got tagged, his game would fall apart because that's just what he's been showing recently. This is a continuation of it. So he's got to go back to the drawing board. I don't know what he's got planned up, but that's another devastating setback for him. And for David Onama, sky's the limit, man. Guy could be a legitimate prospect. He's out of a good camp. Guy could be a contender down the road. Joaquin Buckley versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I went with Al Hassan, underdog pick, plus 135. Don't got a ton of I don't got a ton of underdogs on this card. And I think that this is a fight that's winnable for him. I think he's got a slight striking edge. I think that he should, because of his judo, be able to keep this fight standing and should be able to find Buckley at some point and knock him out. It's just not meant to be. Buckley apparently is some great wrestler. Like, you know what? I did it to myself in a sense that, for the record, I thought Al Hassan won, but I'm not going to complain about it. But I did it to myself in the sense that Al Hassan's known as Judo Thunder. He's got this judo black belt. When he came to the UFC, it was like, dude, this guy's got great judo. And like you see with Edgar, a girl that actually does have good judo, they're hard to take down. They got good hips. Not so much the case here with Al Hassan. Like, you shoot takedowns on him, he just flops over to his back. Credit to him, he was able to get up multiple times, but it just doesn't look great to the judges. The striking was close. I thought he was doing a good job in the first round. Then he'd get touched up a little bit. Then he'd get taken down. He'd get back up, do good work. Those leg kicks were on point. They're just very hard rounds to score through the first two, right? On one hand, it could be 1-1. On one hand, it could be 2-0 Buckley. I don't think it would be 2-0 Hassan, but you just know it's a very close fight, and you're hoping it's the kind of fight the judges know it's a very close fight, and they've got it 1-1 going into the third. The momentum seems to be in Buckley's side after the second, but this is MMA, man. That minute in between does a whole lot. Now Hassan comes in the third round, probably has his best round of the fight. Gets the takedown, ends up on top, spends 2.5 minutes on top. Does some good work. Didn't look overly tired. Like, this was a good performance from Al Hassan, and I thought he should have got rewarded with the victory. Split decision. Okay, I'll agree with that because it was a close fight. Hopefully Al Hassan's way. Not meant to be. They give it to Joaquin Buckley. So, what can you do, right? You took a shot. It was low on our priority list. It wasn't one of our key things. You thought it went the other way, but you thought the Balbita fight went the other way too. All day, I'll give up those bounces. I will give up those bounces gladly to get the JSP bounces where he doesn't get knocked out in the third, to get the bounces where my fighter gasses out and holds on. Like, that's core stuff. I need that stuff. This stuff, I'm not really going to complain about it. So, in terms of where both guys go, like, Al Hassan's just had a terrible run as of late with the UFC. And so this is another setback. Again, he's another older guy. He had some legal troubles. Not that he did anything, but he'd been accused of some stuff. And so it's just none of it bodes well for him. Could he be a gatekeeper in the division? Sure. But, I mean, in terms of his potential and upside in the division, I don't think it's looking all that good. And for Buckley, he's got the sickest KO of all time. He's like a career highlight reel guy now. But this is kind of two fights back-to-back where he also has not looked great. Didn't look good against Antonio Arroyo through the first two rounds, finished him in the third. And then through this one, looked okay through the first two rounds, competitive fight. And in the third, didn't look good at all. I don't know. I don't know if he's the prospect that maybe some people thought he was, but he just seems undersized for the division as far as I'm concerned. We'll see. I don't want to shit on him. Victory, he earned it the hard way, whether I agree or not. He got paid. So good for him. Jim Miller versus Nicholas Motto. When am I going to learn? Paul and I talked about this too. He liked Jim Miller. He tends to back Jim Miller because you always get plus money. And old Cowboy Jim's going to give you his full effort. And I agreed with all of his points. And then right at the end, I shit on the Lyme disease thing. And I shit on he's 38 years old. And I shit on I just can't have any real faith on him. I don't have any faith in Nicholas Mata. Again, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to fade Mata down the list. But didn't have the cojones to follow my old amigo Paul Shaughnessy and just straight up go with Jim Miller. And I know a lot of people had Jim Miller and said the same thing. Like, whether you love him or not, he's plus money. He's a good bet at plus money, especially if they give him these guys that are a little bit susceptible. The thing that really irks me is that Paul and I talked about, Paul was, he gets the takedown and he's got his ground game and he's got the jiu-jitsu and, these are all weapons of Jim Miller. And I straight up mentioned Nicholas Mata got a suspect chin, been knocked down in a couple other fights. You watch those fights, he gets clipped. Legs immediately give out under him. This is a guy that can't necessarily take a punch. And Jim Miller, known for submissions, known for that black belt, known for the wrestling, can crack, man. The guy's got legitimate power in his hands. And in fact, oftentimes he drops the opponent, gets on them, and submits them. So it's a little bit skewed. And I brought up all those points, and I still shot myself in the foot. So Jim Miller does what Jim Miller does, man. He looked good in the first round. He's backing him up. He's throwing combinations. Mata is just, he's not very good. His striking probably looked okay on the regional scene. When I did watch it on the regional scene, it was all power-oriented. He would not do much, land a 3 or 4 punch combination to really wake up his opponent. But they were low-level opponents. Against Jim Miller, he's sitting there not doing much. But Jim's coming forward and throwing combinations, touching him up, tagging him. Wins the first round. Second round, I thought was starting to get better for Mota. He was starting to hit Jim a little bit. He was starting to maybe work his way into it. And then Jim just clips him and he folds right over. A couple ground and pound shots. Referee stops it. Kid's all the way out. I don't think Mota's got a very bright future in the UFC. This is 0-1. Mind you, UFC debut against a dude fighting in the UFC for the 39th time. Ties Donald Cowboy Cerrone's record for most wins all time in the UFC with this one. That is a super tough task, so I could be very harsh on this. But if you can't take a punch, you can't fight. And Jim Miller got power and got boxing, but there's a lot of guys in the division that have more power, better boxing. And if he gets matched up with any of them, it's going to be much of the same. He's going to get knocked out. He doesn't have a ground game to rely on. He's not going to shoot a takedown. He's not going to grapple them. His whole game is predicated on striking. And his striking is not that good. And his striking defense is abysmal. So going to be a bad uphill climb for Nicholas Mata. And for Jim Miller, how could you not feel good? Lose or not, whatever. The parlays I had Mata on anyways are dead in the wind. I got bigger things to worry about at this point coming up. How could you not feel good for Jim Miller, man? He's one of the good guys. And if you cash on him, good for you, man, because those ones feel even better. You love cashing, but you love cashing on the good guys. And I should have been on the Miller train. Parker Porler versus Alan Bodo. Now, Parker Porter ends up being a top-ticket guy. Why? Because I think he wins this fight day and night. He's got better cardio. He's got better durability. I think he's going to have better striking, certainly in rounds 2 and 3. He's got the wrestling if need be. It's a middling heavyweight fight, and he's 36, which is not bad for heavyweight especially. But Paul and I talk about this all the time. You know, middling heavyweights, you have to expect the unexpected. The two toughest divisions, women's MMA, that embodies all of the weight classes, and heavyweight, right? Heavyweight, you're not 100% sure what to expect. They're big guys. They all kind of crack to a certain extent. They all have suspect cardio to a limited extent. And it's just like fights tend to get greasy at times. So did I love putting them on top ticket? No. And I did tweet that out. It was just like, yeah, guys, we got Parker Porter on the top ticket. But again, you got to take a couple shots. And I saw risk in all of these fights. This one, I didn't really see the risk because it was Alan Bodo. So yeah, we go Parker Porter. Now, because we've already got the hit in the JSP fight, we need a solid victory here as well. We've got Edgar hit and Batista hit. So this is really tying our parlays together. It's a very critical piece for us. Got to go and get the job done, right? First round, not good. Not good in the sense that he's coming forward, which I like. He's backing him up, but he's coming up short on all of his punches. Now, as soon as the tail of the tape comes up, all week I feel good about it. I place my bets. I feel good about it. I'm watching other fights on the card. I'm feeling good about that Parker Porter one coming up. And then the tail of the tape comes up, and that's when it's like, because that's when you start to feel it. And the adrenaline starts to get going. You know, some money's on the line here. He's given up 3 inches in the height department, like 3-4 inches in the reach department. And that, I think that's what I kept staring at. And I was just like, he better not get stuck on the end of Bodo's shots. But even if he does, Bodo should get tired after the first round. But the first round played out just like that. He was getting stuck on the end of Bodo's shots. He was coming forward, but Bodo was doing a good job of moving around and just had the reach advantage. Like Parker was throwing, he was just coming up short. Bodo, meanwhile, wasn't really doing anything. But he had the significant strike edge. He was outlanding him by the numbers. Now, Porter landed a couple good leg kicks. I thought he probably landed better shots. Bodo landed some good uppercuts in the clinch, I suppose. There's no real lean here. Now Parker goes to the wrestling. Fuck, he can't get him down. This is going to be problematic for us because we need to get a takedown. Bodo can't stuff takedowns. Why are you not taking him down? He does spend 2 minutes pressed up against the cage. So now in my mind, don't know who's judging this fight, but in my mind, and I'm trying to stay optimistic, Bodo slightly outstrikes him by the numbers, but it's fairly comparable. And Parker Porter's got 2 minutes of control up against the cage. This has got to be a Parker Porter round. One's a slight edge, one's 2 full minutes of control. Judges always love score and control. Did you watch the PFL Challenger Series on the Friday? Taylor Johnson? It was only control. Nothing more than holding a guy up against the cage. You score that because it is control. The little ticker comes up on the graphic. It says 2 minutes and 5 seconds of control time for Parker Porter. But it's still a close round. And then Parker Porter scores a takedown. Sure, there's only 10 seconds left, but he scored the takedown. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a Parker Porter round, right? Was it as good as we wanted? No. But I thought he won the round. Second round, Bodo starts to tire. Porter's now landing shots. He's starting to find that distance a little bit better. He outstrikes him. He does the business. He wins the second round. I thought that was pretty clear cut. Now we got to go to this third round. And if it is 1-1, well, this is for all the marbles. I had now checked at this point on SureDog, just various platforms, people on Twitter. A lot of people scored the first round for Alan Bodo. I didn't, but they did. And judges might agree. Second round, we all got Parker Porter. So the third round is still live as hell. And I can't for the life of me figure this one out. But by fight metrics numbers, which I looked at this morning, he got outstruck in that third round 24-12 by Alan Bodo. Now, mind you, 24 strikes landed by Bodo is the most of any of the rounds. And yet, Parker Porter only lands 12. That's his least amount. Ties the first round, I guess. But it's his least amount. And he's on top of him. He gets the takedown. There's 2 minutes left. Gets the takedown. Passes the side control. Lands some decent shots. Sorry, half guard. Lands some decent shots. Passes to mount. Lands a couple more shots. I thought this is probably the most definitive round of them all. And yet he got doubled up on the striking numbers. I don't know who's counting them. Like, maybe I'll go back and rewatch and count them myself. But I was feeling pretty damn good about it at this point. Maybe we lost the first round, but we lost 2 and 3, or we won 2 and 3. And I personally scored at 30-27 Parker Porter. Just similar to the JSP stuff. I want to feed you guys good picks. I want to feed you guys winning picks. He won. He didn't look good as I thought he was. JSP won. He almost busted it though. But he didn't look as good. So we're happy. We're not going to complain. We never do. But maybe going forward, well, Parker Porter is never on a guy that you want a top ticket, so maybe we never do that again. But he looked really limited. He looked good against Josh Parisian, who's better than Alan Bodo. He looked good against Chase Sherman. In fact, I thought he looked really good against Chase Sherman, who's better than Alan Bodo. He did not look very good against Alan Bodo, who is worse than Alan Bodo. So what can you do, my friends? What can you do? Got the win. I'm not complaining. It's just Parker could have done more, should have done more. Kyle Daukaus, Jamie Pickett. Kyle Daukaus has now ended up on our second ticket. We need him here. He's 3-1 favorite over Jamie Pickett. I think he's going to go out there and do the damn thing. And, man, this kid looked very, very good. Very, very good. Whereas Parker is a top ticket guy and just looks very mediocre. Daukaus should have been that top ticket guy. I don't know why I was hesitant. I had him in the Kevin Holland fight as an underdog. I thought he looked awesome until, unfortunately, the headbutt and the finish. I think this kid's talented. I don't know why I didn't pull the trigger fully, but maybe I was giving some respect to Jamie Pickett, who has won his last 2 fights low-key. I think maybe both times as an underdog, and just has a kind of style to him. But this is Daukaus day and night. He comes out here, blitzes forward, gets an easy money takedown. From there, he's out grappling him. He's doing an excellent job. Pickett does an excellent job of hip escaping, getting up to the cage, getting free, standing back up. Daukaus makes a slight mistake, getting a little over antsy for the back take, jumps up to try to take the back, and he's just a little high up and off to the side. And Pickett scrambles and gets back over. This is where it's this like move of brilliance from Kyle Daukaus. He then just blitzes forward, like a 4 or 5 punch combination, lands a couple great shots, but he just comes forward with his striking. Now in MMA, especially if you've been to a gym, you're training striking, they'll say like, oh, don't let the guy hit you 4 or 5 times without throwing a counter. They try to ingrain in you not to just shell up, but to throw a counter. So Daukaus comes forward with this blitz. And Pickett, meanwhile, has gone from on the ground, hip escape, get up, dude's almost on my back, clear, no space here. This dude's already blitzing forward. And as the second he threw that counter right hand, Daukaus just under. Daukaus only blitzed with the punches to get him to throw the counter to duck under. And he timed it beautifully. Just dumps him right back to the canvas. And there's a look on Jamie Pickett's face where he's just like, fuck. Like, because it was hard getting up the first time, and he's deflated after that second takedown. He tries a similar escape, but just leaves his neck vulnerable. Daukaus snatches up a choke. He's a BJJ black belt. He puts it to good use. Solid stuff. He took 0 damage. He looked good. His ring IQ looked good. Cardio is the only thing that maybe we're still going to wonder going forward. But again, his UFC debut against Brandon Allen, third round was his best round, and he had taken it on short notice against a fairly tough customer. So, yeah, I think there's a lot that you can like from Kyle Daukaus moving forward. This was a very winnable fight for him. Like, Pickett doesn't represent a whole lot of threat, but winning it in this manner certainly means something. So, real good stuff there from Kyle Daukaus. And then finally, we get the main event, Jamal Hill versus Johnny Walker. Yeah, we're going to need Hill here. Because I normally I would have gone Hill on the top ticket and then everything below that. And then now coming into this main event, I would know I have not made 1 cent in this event unless Jamal Hill wins the fight. So that's when you start thinking, well, I can hedge out. Johnny Walker's like a plus 175 underdog, and I know I've got guaranteed money because I'm down to the last ticket. But I didn't do that this week. I didn't put Hill on the top ticket. Hill comes down to the third ticket. So at this point, the top ticket hit and the second ticket hit. This third ticket's gravy that we would love to have on that Sangy. But yes, we're going to need this victory. Let it ride. The money's been made. Let it ride. That's what I decided to do on it. And Hill didn't disappoint, man. But I mean, early on, listen, it's a 5-round fight, so I expect both guys to come out with a reasonable pace. But Walker is just, again, he stays to the outside. He's fading. Whatever he does is like flashy. There's no substance to it. What Jamal Hill does, there's substance to it. He's finding his range. He's gauging it. He's getting close. He's finding that target. He doesn't need to go there and bum rush and knock this guy out. He just needs to wait for that perfect moment. As Paul and I talked about, this kid's got legitimate power. Like, he hits guys that are known for their durability, and they topple over quite quickly. Johnny Walker is not a durable individual, so you don't need to bum rush him and put him away early. You just need to find that one single shot, and he'll present it eventually. I didn't think Walker was doing anything special, staying on the outside, but he wasn't really landing with anything of substance. And then he shoots a couple takedowns. At that point, you got him checkmate. He could still land some flying knee. I think he threw like a tornado 360 kick. But for the most part, like, when he shot the takedown, it was like, oh, yeah, no, you're not actually a wrestler. You're not actually a grappler. Your whole game is predicated on catching this guy, and you're trying to take him down. Bad luck. And then, Hill did clip him. Hill clips him, and it's a crazy KO, just the way he swings and falls back. But I think it all comes down to Hill hits hard. We get that. Hill was the right pick. Hill's moving his career forward. But Walker can't take a punch, man. We talked about it again on the preview show, but this is a bad pattern now. His losses include first one of his career, second-round knockout. Does get a second-round submission, but then his third pro loss, he loses 18 seconds into the first round by knockout. First punch that lands topples him over. That's a very bad look. It's the second knockout loss of your career. It's the third time you've been finished in your 3 losses. His fourth loss, he gets knocked out by Corey Anderson in the first round. Corey Anderson had something like 7 wins in the UFC, all by decision. Knocks him out in 2 minutes. Yeah, that's a bad look. That's now your third consecutive knockout. Then you go to, well, I guess he hadn't been knocked out. Well, the Ryan Spann fight, he gets dropped twice. So it shows win, but he gets dropped twice. The Krylov fight, he looked awful. The Thiago Santos fight, nobody actually punched each other in the face that entirety of that fight. So it's hard to see his chinny there. You just knew if Hill landed, and as far as I'm concerned, if anybody lands, I think Johnny Walker could still win fights in the UFC, but I think he could lose to pretty much anybody in the division. If they punch him square in the face, he will topple over. That is an extremely bad characteristic to have as a prize fighter, and I just don't know what he does. At least if he's crazy and he just goes for it, then it's like, well, he'll either knock you out in 3 minutes or you'll knock him out in 3 minutes. But if he sits back and just waits, it's bad news, man, and it did not go good for him here. So a tough night at the office. I think he's kind of a fan favorite. I don't care for him, but I think he's a fan favorite because he has the flying knee and the spinning back fist, and he has some crazy moments, and he does the worm after his wins. Not that he wins anymore, but like I get keeping him on the roster for the excitement value, but I don't know, man. He moved to SBG Ireland. He got married. His last 2 fights have been absolutely terrible. I'm not seeing him at his peak. And he used to fight with his coaches all the time when he was in his prime. Talk about how this guy bailed on me in fight camp, and I quit on this guy, and this guy's not traveling to fight with me. I have no corner, man. Like, I'm thinking he was a flash in the pan. This guy was a flash in the pan. He beat Khalil Roundtree, the non-contender. He beat Justin Ledet, the definition of a non-contender. He beat Misha Churkinov, who's a Canadian sensation, but never factored in the UFC. He beat Ryan Spann. I don't know. Has Ryan Spann ever been ranked in the top 15? Probably not. So his wins are actually very low-key, not that impressive. But they look so fucking cool. That's not everything. His losses, meanwhile, are against ranked contenders or guys that are fringe top 10, and they almost universally all fuck him up. So whatever, I don't run the UFC. It's their choice. And I will tune in any day to see a Johnny Walker fight. Just likely, I'll be betting the other side for the foreseeable future. And for Hill, my guy took no damage in this fight. Looked good. Wants bigger and better fights, and this is a step in the right direction, right? Just go back injury-free, put another camp in, work on all the things that you were still working on, overall make improvements, and get paid. Maybe get paid. You got $50,000 for that. So on the night overall, Hill got $50,000, well-deserved. Doug's got $50,000, well-deserved. Parker Porter versus Bodo was not a very good fight. Miller, I thought Miller could have gotten $50,000 for that, but there was other better finishes apparently. Joaquin Buckley, Alisand doesn't deserve anything. Onoma got $50,000, very well deserved. Edgar got $50,000. I thought maybe Miller could have got his, or Chaz Skelly hers, or Chaz Skelly could have got it. But it doesn't matter, dude. Submissions are pretty dope, and this was cool. This was fine. I like it. $50,000 for her, life changing. Chaz Skelly, meanwhile, because he was going to retire and he's 36, it probably would have been nice for him to get the bonus, which he did not, but it was a good finish. to Powell, Balbita doesn't matter. And this is where I think they screwed up. I thought Chan and Hillard versus Jesse Strader. See, they went with 4 bonuses. Normally they go with 2 bonuses in a fight of the night, which is both guys are going to get 50,000. They scrapped the fight of the night and went with the 4 bonuses. So when I thought to myself, well, what was fight of the night? I thought it was Chad and Hillard, Jesse Strader. Competitive first round, they're banging it away. Very competitive second round, striking the whole time. He dropped Strader. Third round's for all the marbles. Strader's coming on hot, throwing heavy heat. Chad drops him, puts him away. This is a good fight, man. This is a good fight. Could have been cool to see them get 50,000, but all the same, doesn't matter. These guys won their money. We won our money. This was a good times. This was a good times card. And next week, I think there's another UFC and a Bellator. So mixing, matching was awesome this week. And hopefully we can do the exact same thing next week. But until then, Mayo Media Network, shout out. If you don't subscribe already, would really help everybody, I think. Helps me, helps them. Residual help, you know what I mean? I might not see it right this moment, but just good for business. Like the show, as always, that stuff's always very much appreciated. And yeah, guys, good luck. Good luck moving forward. We're going to hopefully get back on the track on Dogger Pass, which is Wednesday. And yeah, hopefully we're going to kick some ass going forward. So yeah, thanks to everybody. Thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook as well for sponsoring the show. And we'll catch you guys next time.